everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of What's Your Why Wednesday. I am here with Madison Keenan. She is a loan officer at Annie Mac Home Mortgage. Now, this episode, we actually have someone that is newer to our industry, but once again, she also accidentally stumbled upon our wonderful mortgage industry. And now that she's been here, she has decided to lean in and make this her career. So, Madison, thank you so much for joining us. And let me start off with okay, you came in, it was accident, you didn't even know what the mortgage industry was about. But
No, I
once
did
you
not know
were
it began.
here, now, why did you stick around? What value are you seeing? And how does the industry connect with your why?
So, hello, Laura. How are you? Thank you so much for having me. But yeah, so as you said, I accidentally fell into this. I was 20 years old. I was just had transferred to Ramapo College in New Jersey after being in Sacred Heart University in Connecticut. And I was going to school for marketing. I wasn't really happy with the school that I transferred to, and I was too afraid to tell my parents. So I'm like, okay, I have to have a backup plan before I tell them my plan to drop out of the college that I transferred to. And basically, my friend was like, hey, my dad is in the mortgage industry. He just is, leaving a bank and coming over to this mortgage lending world, and he needs someone to help them with data entry and administrative tasks and marketing. So I'm like, okay, cool. Didn't even know the definition of a mortgage, to be honest. So I start there. I was working with about, I want to say, a group of 14 people. I was one of 3 women in the office, so it was a lot of male. It was a male dominated, in group. And I basically was just doing whatever people needed, whether it was helping them with marketing, helping them set up phone calls, meetings, doing data entry, putting together lists of all their business contacts for them, whatever they needed. And then one day there were a couple of kids that came in. I don't want to say kids, but they were in their 20s. And my boss at the time, the branch manager, was trying to recruit people into becoming loan officers. So a lot of them were college athletes, kids that were, didn't go to college, or they were, just getting out of college and were looking for a career path. And he basically offered that he would have a tutor come into the office twice a week, and she was going to teach us everything that we needed to know to pass the tests.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, this is cool. Let me sit in on it. My parents will be happy that I'm doing some sort of educational component. And from there, I found it super fascinating. And the one processor that I worked with in the company, she also fascinated me because I sat next to her desk and I was always just listening to her talk to people about their stories. And she would always have these like crazy instances. And then, you would get to the closing part of everything. And she was always just getting these like calls of like, thank you so much. Oh my God, you changed my life. And I'm like, I thought that this is like banking, and here this girl was changing people's lives. And I was like, I think this is interesting. So long story short, I decided that I wanted to go back to college and finish college. Told my branch manager, hey, don't forget about me. I will be back as soon as I am done with college. I might need an internship to graduate. So if I do, hook a girl up. So fast forward to 2019, I needed an internship in order to graduate. I called my branch manager up. He, at that point, had moved to Annie Mac Home Mortgage and was like, yeah, I just came onto this new company. They're super, just, he was like, it's a different world compared to the company that we had previously worked at. And he was like, you're going to love it. There's so much marketing, yada, yada, yada. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I became a loan partner, and I did that while finishing college. And I guess to wrap it all up, being a loan partner for the last year and a half prior to getting licensed, I was exposed to a ton of different people and different situations and cases. And the more that I got into doing everything, I realized like, wow, this like, you have to know what a mortgage is and obviously be a financial and mortgage advisor. But at the same time, the way that you get to the closing table is how do you think creatively, and each file is so different. And the more that you get to know a person, it's like psychology. You're getting to know a person, you're building a relationship with them, they're trusting you with information, and all of a sudden you go from talking interest rates and numbers to getting their entire life story and getting to know who they are and where they came from, literally like finding out their entire history, at least for the last 2 years. And I just thought, this is it. I don't want to work at a marketing firm for the rest of my life and do a boring 9-to-5 job where I'm going to have someone tell me that, you know, after working my butt off at the bottom, maybe I'm worth an extra $1,000 a year in bonus. I was like, I just want to do what I want to do. I know what I have to do in order to be good at this. I love helping people. I think helping people is something that I always told myself, like, I didn't want to end up in a career after college that I was going to hate and be miserable. If I'm going to spend this amount of time in anything, I want it to be something that I'm passionate about. And I just find with the mortgage industry, it's such a lucrative job in the sense that it's not just mortgages. It's so much more than mortgages. So I think that everyone puts, you know, mortgage and real estate into a bubble, but I'm like, no, I wear so many hats in a day. I'm a therapist, I'm a financial advisor, I'm a friend, I'm a coworker, I'm working with, you know, the people in my company every day. I'm working with, you know, there's just so many people involved in one single transaction. So I feel like the lives that you touch and the people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis, whether they're doing you a favor or you are educating someone, it's, you can't compare it to a regular 9-to-5 job.
I agree, and you said a lot in there, okay?
Yeah,
but to pull
I know,
apart,
I didn't get it all
like,
out.
all right. So there's a lot of things to pull apart in there, but I mean, one thing, knowing your why and knowing our why is one thing, but we actually learn the why to our clients. Right? We understand their why. And the people that sustain a very long and successful career in our industry are the people that realize all of those different hats that you said that you wear. Because if you just come into our industry and you think it's just about, you know, the income
Interest
you
rates,
can earn, or the interest rates go down and that's your, no, you are what you said, a financial advisor, a friend, a therapist, all of those things, a trusted partner, because it is such a, you mentioned about asking for these documents and all of that. People literally bear everything to
they're
us.
exposing themselves
Exposed. Everything that they've done in their lives, whether it was a mistake they made on their credit, whether it was a change of a job and a gap and this or that, maybe it's you know, a mistake in their savings or whatever it is, people expose every part of their lives and soul and what they've done to us. And that's why by us going in, understanding the difference we make in their lives and how we treat them, because you know, they're coming to us as the experts. So you're right. And Madison, it makes me so happy that you've learned the number one, the glory of our industry, the how valuable we are and the difference we make, but also the honor that we have to serve these families, right? It's an honor.
Oh yeah. And I would say in the beginning, one of my biggest fears was always like, oh, how are these people going to take me seriously? You know, at first I was still living at home. So I was like, I don't have a mortgage. I'm in college or just getting out of college. How is this person who's been working, like, how are they just going to trust me to give me all their documents, or why would they choose me? But then I remembered, like, I'm me.
Yeah.
And if you stay true to who you are, and like you said, you could be one loan officer who's good at doing interest rates and that's all that you want to do, and you don't have a care in the world to make a relationship. But guess what?
Short-lived. It's short-lived. You know, the minute the market turns,
exactly.
They're going. See, it's interesting. You know, our industry is all cycles, right? It's all cycles. I've seen so many cycles in my career. And when the interest rates are really, really low and it's refi boom, everybody comes into our industry. But then the next cycle comes and this cleansing happens. And it's funny because for someone like me that's been in the industry so long, I kind of look forward to when the cleansing happens,
Yeah.
because when the cleansing happens, the people that are here to really serve and really be there for these families, we never leave. We stick
No.
around and we know we're here to stay and we know our mission. So I love that.
Yeah, I've had clients before where, they've been hesitant about something that I said in our conversation that didn't sit right. And I'm like, you know what? Before we go any further, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. By all means, go talk to another lender,
Yep.
go to a bank. If you feel like that's a better fit for you, by all means go with that. But I feel like 9 times out of 10, they end up coming back to me because the one thing that most of the banks and everyone else lack is the relationship. And I sit there and I'm listening to your story, and I don't even make it like you're filling out an application. I make it conversational to the point where I'm discovering new things about the person as they're telling me their story, and it's all the pertinent information that I get to fill out on the application. But I think that there's two ways of doing things. There's the business side, or there's the relationship communication side. And you can go onto those websites, the Rocket Mortgage or something like that, and talk to a computer, or you could talk to a person who gets it. And I feel like that's something, that you either have it or you don't. But I think empathy is something that you need to have in this industry, because you need to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And if you're not doing every transaction as if it was someone that you love and care about,
Yeah.
then why are you in this industry?
Exactly.
It's too much stress. Go to do a 9 to 5. You know what I mean? The people that are actually built and designed for this industry, not the flakes that come in when the interest rates are low, are the ones that know that at the end of the day, whether interest rates are high, whether this or that happens on the market, you're you. And if you know what value you bring to the table, regardless of all the other things, then you're going to change lives no matter what.
Absolutely. 100%. And speaking about changing lives, so I love the part where I get to ask, tell me a story of a family or an individual that you helped, that you really kind of took a step back and said, wow, I am changing lives. Look at the impact that I have. Can you share one with us?
Definitely. So I would say, actually, the first loan that I closed in my own name once I got licensed, flash forwards after I was the loan partner for 1.5 years, there was a woman who was referred to by a family friend, and it was someone that they've known for many years. And they were like, look, she might be interested in refinancing. So I got to talking with her, and long story short, after a 1 hour conversation, I was literally sitting in my boardroom after, like, it was like 7 o'clock. No one else was in the office. And I just remember feeling like I was talking to my mom, and just listening to this woman, like, the conversation flowed. And she told me that she had just recently gotten divorced, and it was a pretty nasty divorce with COVID. Her son owned a business, and she went on a mortgage forbearance plan for a period of time and used the money that she would have been using to pay for her mortgage on saving her son's business that he
Oh,
owned.
wow.
And the more that we just got to talking, I was just like, I need to help you. I need to help you. I will do everything. And so just the trust that we built in that first conversation, I think carried through till the end. And by the end of it, and when I got to the closing table, the alimony that she actually had to be paying for her husband was the same amount of money that I was saving her on her mortgage after she
Wow.
refinanced with me. And that was something that this woman was working 2 jobs just to try and help her son, just to pay the alimony that was court ordered after going through a wildly nasty divorce. She had a little bit of credit card debt because, and different debts because of everything that she had to pay in legal fees. And so I was able to get all of that paid off and all the debt consolidated, save her money. And she was walking away with knowing that the money that she would have been paying in a mortgage is now going to her husband in alimony. And that's something that I could just take off of her shoulder.
Yeah.
So I sent her a little bracelet, and it was a lotus flower, and it said new beginnings, because we were able to get her husband off the deed, get all the credit card erased, the debt erased, and she just had a clean slate. The house was in her name. She didn't have
like
debt.
you said, a new beginning,
saving
right?
money.
A fresh
And
start.
she called me bawling her eyes out. And I was just like, I mean, if this is how the first one's gonna go,
Right?
Imagine what the rest of this lifetime of being in the mortgage industry is gonna bring me.
It's actually funny because it brings me back that my whole career, no matter what company I ever worked for or company I built, I never did like the cookie cutter, like A paper, 800 borrowers with like hundreds of thousands in the bank. And I don't know why. It's just my whole career, I've always worked with like more of like the government borrowers or the first time home buyers or like and I think it's because of that. I think it's because I just felt like I could make so much more of an impact and I could really, really help, people that needed it the most. And listen, it's great helping the people with the 800 FICOs and, yes, you want to help them too,
but it's, I mean, those are the ones that just kind of go in and out. And to be honest, they don't really care.
Right.
Like you do all the work.
Well, because they've probably been through it before.
It's a transaction. It's a transactional deal. I mean, you have the relationship and they'll always use you and they'll refer you to other people. But in terms of it being something that's like life altering for them, But then you have the people that have the FHA loans or are the first time home buyers who really don't know all the options out there. And that's why I always say, I'm not just doing mortgages. Like I am doing debt consolidation. I am helping you budget. I am helping you look into your pay stubs. I had a girl the other day that didn't realize that she was paying all this money into Medicare when she had her own personal, health insurance. She was putting all this money that was coming out of her pay stub and she was like, I never knew this. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's a substantial amount of money at the end of the year. And she's like, you help people look into things or, they know them in the back of their head and they've just been kind of putting them off and you're doing it in a non-judgmental way.
Exactly.
And that's the most important part. Is to let them know that you're here for them and you're with them and you're not against them. And at the end of the day, you have the same goal in mind.
Exactly.
Money, get the deal closed and make the customer happy.
Of course. All right. Well, that is awesome. And I love that story. And we wish her all the best in her new beginning. Okay. Awesome. So my last question is always, what do you want your legacy to be? Well, you're at the beginning of your career, so you've got a long runway here. So let's make it, you graduated college, you started your career, now you're right into the mortgage business and doing well. What do you want to pave the way for? Where are you going in your future that you're kind of like, what? I'm going on this path and I know that this is going to be making an impact on the world behind me. So what are you looking to do?
I think that I want people to just know their options. Okay. I mean, first and foremost. And then I would say with the options comes the educational piece. And it's like, I just want to help people. And I know that sounds like super cliche, but I always told myself after I graduated college, I did not want to end up in a job that was 9 to 5 where I was miserable and working underneath someone and helping someone else achieve their goals. I get to wake up every day and help multiple people achieve multiple goals, whether it be financial, personal, there's endless. So I would say that the legacy that I want to leave behind is definitely just to empower, females and males, but I would say even more so females, because I would, being in this industry, I will say that I'm definitely outnumbered by men, and it's not a bad thing. I've learned a ton from the men, but I would say if I could inspire other girls to get into this industry and to open their eyes and for them to realize like, oh my gosh, like look what she's doing and she's enjoying what she's doing and what's a mortgage. So I think just my legacy would be home ownership for everyone. And like we were saying, the people who are the first time home buyers who never in their wildest dreams thought that obtaining a home was even something that they could accomplish. I think for people,
well, that in itself right there, right, is a legacy if you think about it, because it's true. Like I was speaking to a woman, she works for a lender, and she was telling me she grew up in the South Side of Chicago in the projects in the 1980s. And she said to me, Laura, do you think being in the projects in Chicago, I ever thought it'd be possible to own a home. She's like,
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with ever in the mindset that it was even possible. So even what you're saying, to be able to educate and be able to get that message out that it is possible for the average person to be a homeowner with the proper
Yeah.
education and setting forth the plan to do it.
I absolutely. And I feel like the one thing that a lot of people coming into this, even people who have gone through the mortgage process before, like the difference is when they come to my branch or for me, it's just knowing that you have options and knowing that it's achievable, because a lot of times all people know is, oh, I'm in so much debt. I have so much credit card debt. My student loan payments are killing me. I could never afford to own a home. I'm better off just renting. I'm saving so much money. And it's like, no, stop right there. Like, there is so much more to that. And the second that you can help someone not only achieve home ownership, but pay off debt that's been lingering and like weighing on them, help, free up space for people. There's like, there's so much more. I feel like there's multiple rewards that goes into every transaction if you do it right. You should, at the end of the day, not only be giving someone a mortgage and having them sign papers at the closing table, but it should have been an experience and they should be getting things out of it.
Exactly.
For the better. So I think just in that itself, just the educating people and making people aware, because like I said, when I came into this, I didn't even know the definition of a mortgage. And I went through college in business, taking
isn't that crazy?
Finance classes. And
isn't that crazy
they
though?
didn't teach me this stuff. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, don't what? And I would go, even going back to college after being in the mortgage industry, I remember being in a finance class and just be like an accounting class and being like, oh, I know what a profit and loss statement is. It's when you're employed. And I just was like, why are they teaching it to kids as if they know what a mortgage and a loan is? Like, why aren't we teaching them that? Isn't that more like, so I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to go to college. I will be in the position to one day own a home, multiple homes, hopefully. And I just feel like I'm in a position where I just want to spread everything that I've learned. Like I said, it took me a couple tries to pass the exam, maybe for a reason, because I studied the ins and outs of every rule and regulation, which has only helped me become a better loan officer, but it's also helped me realize, and every time you restudy and do all of that, you're learning something new. And I think as I grow into this industry for the next few years and hopefully for a lifetime, I'm going to learn more and I'm going to get better and more creative about how I'm helping people and who I'm helping.
And as long as you stay, but you got to just stay with the core, Madison, of your core of why you're doing it, and the rest will fall into place. It'll flow.
Yeah,
it'll flow.
Absolutely.
You are awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your why with all of us. It was truly inspirational. Keep crushing it out there, and we will continue to watch as you continue to take this industry by storm. Thank you, Madison.